Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live in the car here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back tonight, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a long week. It's been a long, stressful work week for my personal self. So I am super excited to be hopping on the graveyard tonight. Of course, we've got a bunch of people here already. I saw in the chat before I even went live. We got King Knee Gore and the Heezy. What's going on, Zaddy? How you doing, babe? Hope all is doing well with you tonight. James Moss is in the house. I'm here tonight. James Moss, dude, throw up the thumbs up too, man. Hope all is well with you, buddy. And Mr. AJ Zetro's in the house shouting, "Need Gore!" Oh, hell yeah. We got to love the Need Gore. We have our episode number 6 of Summertime Slashing dropping tomorrow, so I'm super excited about that. At Walmart on Monday, I got the Incredible Hulk 2008 movie, and so the final chapter, both on DVD. Dude, those are some solid pickups, man. I haven't been DVD hunting in a while. Like lately, I've been picking up a lot of shit, but it's been mostly like stuff that I've ordered online. I haven't been to Best Buy or Walmart or any of those in a while, man. Like I've heard that they fucking decimated Best Buy. I'm not sure, but I've heard that Best Buy's like selection has really, really dropped off, unfortunately. So that sort of stinks. And Corey says, "We in this bitch." Hell yeah, we're in this bitch. We'll be talking Robin Williams all night long, ladies and gents. I'm super excited about that. But so honestly, I this was a show I wanted to do years ago because partially, like when I first started this, I wanted to do strictly horror. Like I wasn't going to really branch off into anything. But honestly, I had such a good time when I have. Like the Teen Titans episode was such a fun episode for me, such a personal episode for me. Of course, the wrestling episodes I've done with Nate and Dan, respectively. I love just talking anything about something that I'm passionate about. And it doesn't always have to be horror. And I said to myself when I did start this show initially that the day would come where I would do the particular show that I want to do tonight, and honor one of my all-time favorite actors. And I don't know if this actor is number one. It's very close. It's either him or Kurt Russell for me. It's one or the other. I mean, it's really close. But tonight we honor the memory of one Robin Williams, in my opinion, one of the greatest talents in the history of the world and a true national treasure, in my humble opinion. I I'll never forget it, and it's I think 7 years ago this month is when he actually passed away. So I definitely I wanted to do a little like tribute show for him. Obviously, at the time of his death, I don't think I had started a YouTube channel yet. If I had, it was very early on, and it was really just a heartbreaking thing for me. And you know, it's crazy because celebrity death. I mean, celebrity death never really got to me like it did with Robin Williams. And for a few days, I remember after he passed, I remember asking my dad, I'm like, why did this, out of all the celebrity deaths, Michael Jackson, or, there's just a ton of celebrities that I like, Chris Farley, I mean, John Belushi, so many that had passed that I was a really big fan of, but I didn't get as upset about them as I did with Robin Williams. And I asked my dad, I said, why do you think that is? And he said, think about it, man. Think about all the kids' movies that guy did, whether it be Patch Adams, whether it be Flubber, whether it be Jumanji, whether it be, Aladdin. So many great kids' movies. And he said this, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. He said, in a weird way, you grew up with him, and I, at first I laughed, but I was like, that's a great way to put it because I did. And I actually have proof here of growing up with him. I used to watch this VHS back in the day to absolute death, and that is the VHS of Jumanji. I watched this when I was a kid. I watched this so many times. I actually had an aunt, I believe an aunt, she bought me this again on VHS. So I have 2 copies of Jumanji. The other copy is somewhere over there. But they knew I loved this movie so much, and she was like, "Oh, I'll buy it from them." They knew that I had it already on VHS. So I thought that was kind of funny. But it really hit me hard. And I remember actually my buddy Jack Lawless and my buddy Tom Cooney, they called me a few days after it happened. They were like, "Hey, we're going to do a Robin Williams marathon just to tribute the guy. He was just such a great guy, a great energetic talent." And tonight, I hope to dive into some of the movies that challenged me as a viewer, that made me laugh, that made me cry, that made me feel every emotion in the world. And I think that's why Robin Williams was the greatest that ever did it. It's because he can make you feel any emotion. I remember watching this award show where Jack Nicholson, Robin Williams, and Daniel Day-Lewis were all up for like a Golden Globe or whatever. And it was a two-way tie between Nicholson and Daniel Day-Lewis for the award. And they both went up and said, oh, it's an honor to win this, blah, blah, blah. Nicholson comes up and goes, I feel bad. Robin, come up here and say something funny. And Robin went up there and he made me laugh like crazy. Like he was such a good improv guy off the cuff. And he made me cry. I mean, tears of laughter. It was just one of the funniest things ever. And then you turn around and watch some of his dramatic roles, and he could actually make you cry tears of sadness. There are very few actors, in my opinion, that can make you go from one range to the other quite like Robin did it. And I think he's just one of the greatest of all time, if not my favorite of all time. It's like I said, it's him or Kurt Russell for me. Those are my two favorite actors. And it is funny, they did collaborate on a movie called The Best of Times. Cute little movie, nothing great, nothing groundbreaking. It's not on the top 10. I could spoil that. But I definitely, I was excited to do this because I thought it'd be a nice tribute to one Robin Williams. So I want to say cheers to Robin Williams. This show is dedicated to his memory. Of course, this is a tribute. I have a little bit of water tonight. So cheers to Mr. Robin Williams. Your energy, your talent, your wit, and your sense of wonder at heart will never be lost on me. And we miss you every day, Robin. Rest in peace. Cheers to you. We have a couple comments. Let's see. Robin Williams, rest in peace, Robin Williams. He was funny, and I have one of his movies, a 1991 film, Hook, on VHS. That is the Steven Spielberg piloted film. Another one I grew up with, James. I just absolutely loved Hook as a kid. And it's funny because he really, for most of that movie, is playing like a very unlikable character. Like the Peter Banning character is very unlikable until the end. And I always point out a scene where the little kid, he like brushes over his face and he goes, oh, there you are, Peter. And they have a shot of the kids looking at him and just in awe of, that's Peter Pan right there. That's the leader of our tribe. And I always thought that scene was just absolutely magical, man. It was a very heartwarming scene to me. And Hook is one of those heartwarming movies. Another one, James, that like I grew up with for sure. It's crazy to think that movie's 30 years old. Isn't that wild, man? That movie's older than me. It's just wild. John Ritter and Farley hit me hard. Yes, no. John Ritter for Three's Company. I mean, that's one of the best sitcoms ever. And I was like, John Ritter was another one that is just super underrated. I always loved his role in Bad Santa as like the store owner, and some of the scenes of him and Bernie Mac going back and forth. Just really funny. John Ritter was taken from us far too soon, as was Chris Farley. I mean, who is not a fan of Tommy Boy and all of his stuff on Saturday Night Live, whether it be the Chippendale segment with Patrick Swayze. I mean, that's easily could have been something that was lost, and that was an early role for Chris Farley on that show. But he and all his body movements and the way and the length he would go for a laugh was really unmatched, man. Chris Farley is one of the best of all time, and another guy we sorely miss. It's just really sad. Of course, Beverly Hills Ninja. The guy was just a great talent. I mean, I loved Chris Farley. May he rest in peace as well. Wrestler, beautiful Bobby Eaton passed away today. Yes, rest in peace, beautiful Bobby. I'm really sad. I'm actually interested to hear the Jim Cornette podcast talking about beautiful Bobby Eaton, because that's definitely, I know that they were really close. He was the manager for the Midnight Express for a long time, and I know those two guys were close. So I'm definitely interested in hearing Cornette's tribute for that. Mork and Mindy was my jam as a kid, really thrown back when I saw his first movies and they were serious. Yeah, no, his career is weird. Like after he moved away from Mork and Mindy, because he went straight into like Popeye. And then it was, I think, The World According to Garp. Like it took him a little bit of, he did the movie with Walter Matthau. He did one, Moscow on the Hudson, where he's playing a Russian character. He's definitely been all over the place for sure. And it is weird to go from the comedies I've seen him in into the dramas. I mean, it's just such a night and day difference. Can we get a Mets and NL East rant? John Perna's in the house. What's going on, John Perna? I don't want to go into ranting mode right now. We're trying to stay a little sentimental on the show. All I know is if they don't win the series this weekend, they're in trouble. They've got to take the Phillies out because I think the lead is down to like a game or a game and a half or even half a game. So we got to take care of business this weekend. That's all I got to say about that. It stinks losing 3 or 4 from the Fish. But hey, you know what? We got to take them out this weekend. We got to absolutely, show up in Philly. So Popeye at the theater, dude, that's wild. That movie's 41 years old. How crazy is that, man? That's the same year as such classics as The Shining, Friday 13th, 1980. Isn't that wild, man? That's just absolutely crazy. I hear it. Thank you, man. Yeah, no, I'm hey, fingers crossed. I'm hoping, but we'll see. But yeah, so without further ado, I guess we can get into this top 10 list. I will say this before I start the list. There's so many great Robin Williams classic films and performances and stories that it was insanely hard to narrow this down to 10. So I know for a fact on this top 10 list, I'm bound to piss somebody off with leaving one off. And if I did, I apologize. If you even want to hear my thoughts on it, doesn't mean I don't like the movie or anything. It just means there were 10 spots, and these were my personal 10 favorites. This isn't even, in my opinion, the top 10 best. This is my top 10 favorite. This is definitely more of my list as opposed to a list that a critic would do or whatever. It's definitely more personal because Robin Williams is really like a personal guy. Robin Williams is fantastic as the genie in Disney's Aladdin. Dude, one of the best voice acting performances of all time. House of D is number 1. Corey, I actually watched House of D. You told me to watch House of D. Really good little movie. It didn't make my list, but House of D is fantastic, and I highly recommend anybody watch it. The scene where Robin Williams goes to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was marking out. And also the scene where they're in the schoolyard, it's the home run off the kid. I just absolutely love that. I mean, that was a really fun movie. That was a much better, in some ways, it was a much better version of Jack, the movie he did with Francis Ford Coppola, where he was playing like the little kid, but in a grown man's body. I thought House of D was better with that, even though he was playing more of a mentally challenged character. But I thought it was just, I don't know, it came off very much more genuine as opposed to the performance in Jack for me. I like House of D, though. That's a good movie. But I guess we can get this thing underway. And I guess I spoiled it a little bit. I gave you a little bit of a teaser with this. Coming in at number 10, this one, I can't tell you how many times I grew up watching this movie time and time again. This VHS is absolutely beat to shit. And it's actually really funny. It's comedy at this point. But it is none other from 1995, I believe this one came out. This is Joe Johnston's film. This is Jumanji. Yes. Jumanji. A super, I think, unnecessarily shit on movie. This movie gets a lot of shit, and I know it's for the CGI and Joe Johnston's direction and stuff like that, but what a great movie in my humble opinion. Like, to me, this is a great movie for a lot of reasons. And number one, it's just the absolute, the story of it, of this magical board game where, you roll the dice and then these things from the jungle come out, whether it be lions, whether it be these poisonous plants, whether it be these giant mosquitoes, or whether it be a hunter played by the actor who's playing your own father. And just so many crazy things come out no matter what you roll. And it's this great board game of going back and forth between our characters. Of course, Robin Williams is in this, Bonnie Hunt, and they play off really well with each other. Of course, Kristen Dunst. And I just absolutely love the dynamic of a film revolving around a pretty extreme board game and the adventures that this movie brings up to you. And Robin Williams is fantastic in this. Of course, he plays the Alan Parrish character. And when he's a little kid, he gets sucked into the board game. Of course, the classic, in the jungle, you must wait until the dice read 5 or 8. And of course, he gets sucked into the board game, spins and goes into the board game. And then it's not till all these years later where these two kids find the game and roll the dice. And one of them, of course, rolls the 5 or 8, and Robin Williams comes out, and he's like sort of our veteran of the movie. He knows how to deal with all these things that are going to come out roll after roll. And we follow his character when he's a kid, and he's having these problems with bullies and whatnot. And his father character in the film, he keeps telling him, you have to stand up to what you're afraid of. You may get your ass kicked. You may not like what I have to say to you, or where I want you to go to school, or where I want you to go in life. But understand that I do love you, and I want you to only have the best for you. And at first, Rob Williams' character is very hesitant against that. He's not for that. He feels that the father's being very overbearing, and then of course he goes missing. And there's so much heart in this movie where Rob Williams comes back into the real world, and he's looking for his parents, and he's seeing that they've both passed away, and he hears all these stories about how they looked for him, and then all the people made up these stories that the father killed him, chopped him up in little pieces, and hit him in the walls. I mean, really, that's shit that kids make up, and that's, of course, the story that they got Bonnie Hunt to believe. And, all these years later, he has to come up and face his fears in this board game. And he, at one point, rolls Van Pelt, which is this hunter, and it's actually played by the same actor who plays his father in the movie. And I actually have great personal memories with this. When Rob Williams' father, he comes out of the board game as the hunter, he calls him Sonny Jim. He goes, "Jigs up, Sonny Jim," and he starts shooting at him. And when I was a kid, my dad would always tease me with that. Like if I was in trouble, or if I took too many cookies or whatever, he would be like, "Jigs up, Sonny Jim," and he'd, chase me or whatever, or what, just typical father-son shit. And that's something I always remember about Jumanji, was just thinking about my dad's funny sense of humor of, let me fucking, tease my son about this fucking hunter trying to shoot his own son in Jumanji. And of course, just tease it with me in real life. I just thought it was a cool thing that we always had. And the name stuck. He, to this day, most of the time will call me Sonny. He doesn't call me John. He calls me Sonny. And I have to think it's really funny. I'm just always like, Sonny Jim, man. It just caught on. My mom, too. My mom loved it. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Jigs up, Sonny Jim. Game's up. And I just love that, just some of the stuff that comes out of the board games, of course. When the practical effects are done, I think it's done really well. Like the lion, I think, looks really good. The monkeys, when the monkeys come out, it doesn't look the greatest. I won't lie. That effect hasn't aged well. Some of the CGI in it hasn't aged well. But I will say, I recommend watching this on VHS. Like, this is one, I believe there's a 4K of this out now. Get the VHS, because it doesn't really overexpose the CGI. If anything, it makes the CGI a lot more tolerable, in my humble opinion. So I don't know. It's just something I'm old school. I like to pop this one in the old VCR every now and again, have a nice Robin Williams movie night. And I don't know. I just love the heart of this movie, I think. And in a lot of Robin Williams movies, they're very sentimental. And this one, for me, I loved the whole thing with him and his father of, aren't you going to run now? And Robin Williams says no. And he's like, why not? And he goes, my father always told me that, even though you're afraid, it's okay to be afraid. You have to stand up to the things that scare you the most. And he stands right in his face, and any last words? And of course, Robin Williams rolls the 3. Jumanji. Just great stuff. I mean, every time I see this movie, it doesn't fail to put a smile on my face. And I also love the side characters. David Alan Grier in this is so fucking funny as the soul man. And he's this cop who he keeps getting his car destroyed. And by the end, it gets taken away. Fine, take it. He just fucking finally just gives up, and they break down the door of the house. And of course they go flying out of the house because the house is filled up with water. And David Alan Grier is just great in this. There's a scene where Robin Williams steals his car with him, and he handcuffs him. So they're right on top of each other. I don't know, man. Just really, really funny stuff. I love Jumanji. It's a great movie. I really am a big fan. Since I'm a kid, I absolutely always love Jumanji. I think it's a great, great flick. Definitely more of a personal pick for me. I love this one. I know it gets a lot of shit, but Jumanji, number 10. Let's see. I like the first film that he was in, Popeye. He was excellent in that film. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. I've got to give Popeye a rewatch. That's awesome. Thought you'd skip it, to be honest. No, I checked it out. Actually, that same night you recommended it, I was like, fucking Robin Williams movie I've never heard of. And I thought it was really, really good. It actually, Anton Yelchin was great in that. May he rest in. Crazy that they're both gone. Can't knock a movie for not aging well. Then a lot of people knock Jumanji. I don't get why, but it does get a lot of shit. Jumanji is an excellent 90s movie, and I like the Jumanji cartoon series as well. Yeah, no, I loved, as a kid, I loved Jumanji, and I also remember the follow-up, the unconnected follow-up, the movie Zathura, where it was like a space theme. That's a good movie too. I liked that one too. Only to you that taking too many cookies is being bad. Yeah, no, you know what I mean? Like just the typical, if I did something wrong or whatever, um, he would just be like, "Jigs up, Sonny Jim," as a joke. Just as it was like our thing. It was just a really nice thing I had with my dad. So I don't know. It was just always really funny, I thought. Taking too many cookies is punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison. Oh shit. Yeah. I always love that VHS warning, $250,000 fine. I'm just like, all right, shut the fuck up. Angriest Man in Brooklyn, John Steele. That's a really good movie. Really good one. And that's one of his last movies, I believe. I believe it was that and Boulevard. Those are back-to-back the last movies he filmed on screen. And I love both of them. Boulevard is actually really sad. Boulevard, I had a hard time watching Boulevard. That was a really sad movie. Angriest Man in Brooklyn, I liked. I really like James Earl Jones is in there. Mila Kunis. I really liked Angriest Man in Brooklyn. That's a good one. Really underrated one for sure. Yeah, no, I don't know. Just, I guess, our thing. But I guess moving on here, we can hop into number 9. I don't own a physical copy of this one, but this movie was just so inspirational to me at a young age. And it made me want to do the morning announcements for years to come. And I ended up doing that. It is none other than Barry Levinson's film from 1987. It is Good Morning Vietnam. Yes. And I will read a little plot synopsis because I hate not having the physical copy, but one day I will pick it up for sure. In 1965, an unorthodox and irrelevant DJ named Adrian Cronauer begins to shake up things when he is assigned to the U.S. Armed Services radio station in Vietnam. Yes. I'll never forget the first time I saw this movie. And I didn't know much going in, and all I knew was Robin Williams was in it, and I love Robin Williams. And Robin Williams, when he sits down in the radio booth and the amount of energy he brings to the radio booth, it right then and there inspired me to want to do the morning announcements or radio or something in the radio field. And, I knew personally, I was like, I can never be as good as this guy right here. But it was one of those things where it gave me something to shoot for. And I was like, I really want to try this. And so when I, tried out for the morning announcements in school, I reminded myself, be like Robin Williams. Bring that energy, bring that passion, bring that spirit, and try to improv when you can. I know it's not highly encouraged, but when you can, and when you can make something funny and you can get away with a little bit of something, add that. It's all about being creative. And Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam is just so inspirational. It just absolutely made me want to just take on the world, man. It's just such a great performance. And I think Barry Levinson does a great job directing. Of course, the people and the powers that be, they're having a problem with Robin Williams because he's so much. But, you look at this movie on the flip side, I mean, look at what these soldiers do and how tough their everyday in day and out day life must be. For somebody to go in there and entertain them and keep them smiling and make them think about other things than just the situation that they're in, there's a lot of importance to that. And I know that Robin Williams in real life, he actually would visit the troops every year and put on a comic show, put up a stand-up show. And he was really big in supporting the troops and stuff like that. And I always thought the world of Robin Williams for that. I thought, what a cool guy. And I love there's a scene where he's right in the middle of all these soldiers and he's telling this story and he's doing all the hand gestures and the facial expressions and the accents and just the pure joy on all the soldiers' faces, watching him just tell a story, a funny comic story. It's absolutely magic. It really is. It's something that I'm just like, wow, like only Robin Williams can bring this type of happiness, this type of joy to a situation as dark as being, in Vietnam during all this crazy shit. And Barry Levinson is definitely not one to shy away from the political side of this movie. And I'll be honest, I'm not very political at all, but I do think it's well tackled in this movie, the horrors of politics and the horrors of, what was going on in the country at that time. It's really depicted in a pretty dark manner because while you have all this relief with Robin Williams, they do show you the other side of that coin. And I don't know if a lot of filmmakers would have went that extra mile, but I'm glad Barry Levinson did. Barry Levinson's fantastic. Him and Robin Williams actually collaborated numerous times too, which people don't ever mention. They made a really underrated movie from 1992, I believe, called Toys. And Toys is like one of those movies that nobody ever mentions. And it was close to making this list. That was one of the Bubble Boys for sure. I know that there's not a Blu-ray copy of it out anymore, which is crazy. There should be a Blu-ray of Toys. It's just an amazing production value film. Like, it's just gorgeous. The cinematography, the landscape, the colors, just a really good movie in my opinion. I don't get why there's no love for that movie. And then also Man of the Year, which I was a little bit less on. That's Rob Williams, Barry Levinson again, and Rob Williams like through this like loophole wins the election and becomes the president of the United States, and it's this whole thing about that. It ended up being like more serious than funny. So that one I was like, but Good Morning Vietnam is just a wonderful film. I can't recommend it enough. Of course, I also Forrest Whitaker is in this in an early role. Really love Forrest Whitaker in this movie. I think he does a great job. I don't know. I love everything about this movie. I think all the humor, the one-liners, just absolute greatness that Rob Williams brings to the radio booth. I love how do you tell people are the enemy? What do you use to look for them? Well, we ask people, are you the enemy? And whoever says yes, we shoot them. I love just some of the voices and the oh my God, the vibes. It's absolutely fantastic. I love Rob Williams in Good Morning Vietnam. The Hook movie video game sucks. I've not played it. Is that NES? Is that, I don't know what system that would be. Steel. Gotta love John Steele, man. Saw this at the show once again. Thought it would be funny. It was, and then it turned a bit. Great flick, though. Yeah, no, it did. It really does turn out of nowhere. Like, you're like, oh, this is just a fun, you have a smile on your face, and then it's just like, holy shit. Like, no, shit's serious. Like, this was not a laughing matter, but Rob Williams, he kind of makes it all okay. The weather today is hot and shitty. Yes, dude, just some of the shit he says in the booth, and that tiny guy is just getting all up in arms about it. He's just like, oh, son of a bitch. I love that, man. And Rob Williams knows he's getting under his skin. And he's just like, let me keep going off the cuff. Anything you can do to keep pushing the envelope, pushing the bounds. It's just great stuff. The CD that I ordered on Amazon will be here tomorrow. It's Kix 1983 album Cool Kids. Fucking A, man. That's an awesome pickup. But yeah, so moving on here, we can get into number 8. Number 8, and AJ, I know you love this one, and I know you recently saw this in the theater again with your wife. I know it was the anniversary of this one recently, the 25-year anniversary. It's absolutely wild. This is another one I grew up with as a kid, and I just absolutely adored it. Just think it's one of the funniest movies ever made. Is none other from 1996. This is Mike Nichols' film. Another VHS one here. I'm talking about The Birdcage. Yes, I don't know why this is not focusing, but I swear it's The Birdcage. I don't know if y'all can see that great, but this is The Birdcage. What a funny movie. What a great, memorable, funny movie this is. And, at the time, it was pretty groundbreaking because it was one of the first movies to really deal with the subject of, people being gay in a comedy. And Nathan Lane, of course, and Rob Williams, they play this gay couple, and they own this nightclub called the Birdcage, and Nathan Lane is the star. And of course, their son, who he comes in and he's like, listen, I'm getting married and I'm in love with this girl. He's getting married to Callista Flockhart, and her parents are played by Gene Hackman and Diane Weiss. Gene Hackman's like the uber right-wing conservative guy, running for office. And of course, it's going to look bad in his image to be involved with, somebody else that is a gay family or whatever. And the whole movie is really just a build up to this final encounter between the two families. And it's just a fantastic movie. So many great laughs. And of course, Robin Williams is right at the front and center of that. I love that he's trying to give direction of one of these new, hires for the Birdcage. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, let me get up here and show you. He goes, you got to do fussy, 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 Matagram, Madonna, Madonna. Just fucking hilarious, man. Rob Williams, just the shit he would do with his body and all the dances. And you have to keep that all inside now. I just love it. And the whole, when the dinner scene's happening of, he didn't make an entree. Fucking poor Hank Azaria, Agador Spartacus. Just funny shit, man. And fuck the shrimp as Rob Williams falls down and runs out there. That whole scene was improvised. He actually slipped and fell. And Rob Williams goes, fuck the shrimp. That was improvised. And you can see the actors are like trying to not laugh at it. Just magical stuff. And even though, I know this is the Robin Williams tribute show, and it is, and I'm obviously talking mostly about Robin here. Nathan Lane, this movie really made his career because he was really a stage actor for years and years before this. And this was really his first big chance at a big movie role. And I know that, funny enough, I don't know if everybody knows this, Steve Martin was originally going to play the Robin Williams character, and Robin Williams was originally going to play the Nathan Lane character. And Robin Williams basically came down to him saying, I just did Mrs. Doubtfire a couple years ago. I'm not feeling the drag anymore. Let me play the straighter of the two, and let somebody else play the character that's actually flamboyantly gay. And in steps Nathan Lane and just gives one of the best performances ever, I think. I love Nathan Lane in this movie. And then, of course, you can't lose the performance of Gene Hackman. I mean, just such funny stuff where his other guy he's working with, he dies in the head with a black prostitute, and they'll have a great headline: Senator Keeley and his women, Senator Jackson and his women, Senator Keeley and his men. Just fucking hilarious stuff, man. I love the sense of humor in this film because it's definitely very non-PC. It's a very politically incorrect movie in a lot of ways, but it does it with such good taste. And I think that's why years and years later, this film is still aged well. In an era where shit all gets erased and canceled, if you will, the humor in this movie, it's just in such good, I think, light that it's hard for you not to laugh along with it. Of course, Nathan Lane, he shows up to the dinner dressed in drag, and he's trying to portray Val's mother, and they're singing The Sound of Music on the piano and dancing and shit. It's fucking hilarious. I could have danced all night. Fucking hilarious. Amazing. And Hank Azaria like can't walk in the shoes. He keeps eating shit, falling down. Really, really just a great movie. A movie that I always go back and watch. It's another one, like I was saying before with Jumanji. It never fails to put a smile on my face. I watched this in the theater. It actually just got re-released for its 25th anniversary. I went with my mother and our family friends, the Pernas. Actually, Johnny and I'm sorry, Joe and Mrs. Perna. We went, the four of us, and just had a great time in the theater. I love the Birdcage. I think just the world of it. There's so many great things about it, and the subject matter, dealing with it. It's not easy. It's something you have to deal with kid gloves, but I think they did a wonderful job. And then how many movies do you see Gene Hackman in where he's dressed up in drag singing "We Are Family" as he tries to escape this Birdcage nightclub? I just love it. I think it has a wonderful sense of humor. And what are these boys playing leapfrog on my plate? And don't you have any girls in your bowl? And they're talking about abortion, and he's just like, oh well, if the baby's gonna die anyway, might as well kill the mothers. If the passenger's gonna go down, so should the ship with it. It should sink with the ship. Fucking hilarious, man. Just the shit they say at the table. It's just absolutely wonderful. I love this movie. I think The Birdcage is just a great movie. Great comedy, really great comedy, and one that everybody should at least see once. Another one that's, again, I don't know, like, there seems to be a fan base for this movie, but it's definitely a lesser talked about Robin Williams movie. I definitely think more people should check this one out for sure. This is The Birdcage from 1996. Highly recommend it. Here's to Robin. Junebug Films in the house. Ty, how are you tonight, brother? Hope all is well with you, buddy. I'm obvious. Does one mind a hint of color? And you take the toast and you smear. There's scenes where Robin Williams is trying to teach Nathan Lane how to be straight. And, of course, dude, walk like John Wayne. And he does it, and he sits down, and he's like, how was that? And he's like, it was actually perfect. I just never realized John Wayne walked like that. Like, they play off each other so well as this couple that are in love and love their son, and they want the best for their son. And I think that's the thing that reaches me about this movie is that, it's looked at as, it's just tackling gay or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, it's a great family picture because it's this couple that wants the best for their son that they love. And that's it. It's no more complicated than that. And I think anybody can really, relate to that and see the heart in that. And I really like it. And again, man, there's some great laughs along the way. I mean, Nancy Drew, You have the whole series. I just fucking hilarious, man. And she's a small town girl. And how about those dolphins, huh? I mean, just that whole dinner scene, that whole sequence is so well directed by Mike Nichols, and it never is not funny. I've seen it a ton of times, and every single time I still laugh like it's the first time I've seen it. It's fantastic, genius. Absolutely love the birdcage. We all know that I'm more like the Gene Hackman guy in a lot of ways in this movie, but I find the Birdcage extremely funny, and an original one is a lot funnier because the Birdcage is a remake. Yes, that's true. The Birdcage was a remake of a French film, and it was for a long time a stage play. And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest remake guy out there, but I think this is a fantastic remake because number one, the cast. It's such a good cast. I mean, from top to bottom, it's fantastic. Hank Azaria in this is so fucking funny as Agador Spartacus, and the dancing scenes with him and him trying to make the dinner, and it's this Schultz that he's putting the eggs in the soup. Fucking absolutely hilarious. And you can cook, right? Your father seems to think so. It's just great stuff. My buddy JP actually ran into him at a baseball game and got a picture with him and was telling him how much he loved him in this movie, The Birdcage. Hank Azaria is great in it. And everybody is. The entire cast is fantastic. Robin Williams was in Happy Days that got him recognized. Yes, that was the Mork cameo in Happy Days. And then, of course, that started, Mork and Mindy and Nanu Nanu and Mork from Ork. And, that was just a wonderful show. I could always watch that. And again, it's another show where Robin Williams brought so much to it. Like this whole sitting upside down on the couch and in the car, and the chemistry with Pam Dawber. And it's one of my favorite sitcoms ever. I'm not sure. Now, somebody please let me know. Is there a DVD set of that show? I really would like to see a Mork and Mindy box set because that's one of those shows I'd love to own all of them. I love Mork and Mindy. Mork and Mindy's fantastic. Robin Williams was two celebrity deaths that I actually cried over. Yes, I won't lie, Ty, I cried too. I absolutely cried. I'll never forget it. I was eating lunch. This was in August of 2014. So I was off for the summer. This is high school days. And I heard about it on the news. Like it was like a special news bulletin, if Robin Williams has passed away. And I was heartbroken, man. I remember we did a marathon, me and my friends, to honor him. And just one of the greatest ever. In my opinion, arguably the greatest talent of all time. Just a true icon, in my opinion. Love Robin Williams. Ben Grimm's in the house. Ben Grimm, how are you tonight, buddy? I saw Robin Williams perform live when I was at war. He did a show for the troops. He was very into that. Yes, I was actually just mentioning that before when I talked about Good Morning Vietnam. I just think the world of Robin Williams to perform and make someone laugh who's, a troop, and your life it's got to be one of the hardest lives you can live. And for him to come in there and take time out of his schedule to put a smile on the faces of people that can just escape for only those couple hours. I just think the world of him for that. I love Robin Williams. And I love that he did that. He was very manic, changing jokes in the middle of telling other jokes. Yeah, no, Robin Williams was absolutely crazy. My girl even got to see him when he performed for the troops. Oh, really? That's awesome, man. That's so crazy. Two of you. That's so cool. Neon Black Reviews in the house. Dude, it's been forever since you've been on one of my live streams. Welcome. What's up, John? Robin Williams is the GOAT. Completely agree, man. Absolutely love Robin Williams. Where was that, Ben? I was taking a nap and my grandmother yelled upstairs, Robin Williams died. And I said, okay. And then I said, wait, what? And right now, I know, horrible, absolutely horrible. I remember immediately I believe I put in Jumanji, just because it was just like, oh my God. And I remember somebody tweeted that, like, rest in peace. And then they put the Into Jungle, You Must Wait Until the Dice Read 5 or 8. And I was like, wow, like he's gone. Like it was like a bomb dropped on your life. And it's weird, it's like, I've never met the guy. And that's why celebrity deaths, they can be very, it's sad, but it's just like, all right, I didn't personally know. I didn't have dialogue with the guy, but it's the fact that, I grew up watching him, and he was such a pivotal part in all of our lives and making us laugh and making us, feel all these sorts of emotions. I think it's just can't be understated how important Robin Williams was. And the fact that I think he's a once in a lifetime talent. I don't think there will ever be another Robin Williams or somebody that reaches that pinnacle. I mean, some come close. Sure. I mean, I love Jim Carrey. I love Tom Hanks. Even before that, you guys like Jimmy Stewart. I mean, a lot of those guys had that similar charm, But I don't think any of those guys, with all due respect to how great all those guys were I just mentioned, had the energy Robin Williams had or the improv ability that Robin Williams had. Maybe Jim Carrey, but nobody comes close to Robin Williams for me. She said that it was absolutely amazing. She commented how he was very Sasquatch-like and to be a very, very hairy man. Yeah, no, he was. He was. You guys talking about the times that he was there. That's really, really cool. I guess in the meantime, I can hop into number 7. And this one, it changes the whole game. It really does changes the whole game because, up until this point, I was so used to seeing Robin Williams be funny and Robin Williams entertaining me and putting a smile on my face. And this movie here, I don't own this one, but this movie here, to me, in my opinion, this is his only dive into the horror genre. And I think it's one of the best performances of the guy's career. It is from 2002. It is 1 hour photo. Yes, when Robin Williams plays Cy, the photo guy. One of the best horror movies of the earlier 2000s, in my humble opinion. Just fantastic stuff. And a scary film in that and of itself, because Robin Williams plays this lonely photo developer. And I don't know if people remember this, but back in the day, it's funny. This movie, it's almost like outdated now because this doesn't happen anymore. You'd go to like a CVS or a pharmacy or something like that to get your pictures developed on a disposable camera. I did that a lot as a kid. We would go and get the film roll, and it usually would take a couple days. It wouldn't be 1 hour. I mean, the pretty crazy 1 hour photo. That's a pretty good deal. I mean, you could just kill the time in the store, get some lunch, and come right back. But it used to take a lot more time. But Robin Williams plays this guy that's developing all these photos, and he basically is so alone and sad that he starts to become obsessed with this family he's developing photos for. And he wants to be a part of their family. And what I think the number one most smartest thing about this movie is that even though Robin Williams is dark and he reaches a very dark place in this film, the character is not malicious. He really is an alone character, and he really just wants to be a part of this family. And it's not like, oh, I want to murder the father and take his place. And a lot of lesser movies would do that. Not this one, though. And there's scenes where he's, imagining himself in the house and sitting on the couch with them, opening Christmas gifts with them. And it really, it tears at your heart. You feel so bad for this character who's doing all these heinous acts, but at the same time, you do feel really, really bad. And I think Rob Williams is just so good at playing this kind of timid character. And there's this scene where this kid in the store, he runs up to him. He's the kid of the family he's obsessed with, and he goes, "What do you got there?" And he goes, "Oh, this is Evangelion." And he goes, "Oh, cool. Who's Evangelion?" And the kid tells him that Evangelion is this good guy, which obviously, if you know Evangelion, you know that's not the case. But he's this good guy, and he waves a sword, and he's just the coolest. I just love it. I would love to have this action figure. And the father won't buy it. I don't want to buy it or whatever. Robin Williams, in turn, buys the action figure for the kid. And after his soccer practice one day, he comes up to him and goes, "Here, I got it for you." Just anything to try to earn the respect and the love of this family. And it's awkward. It's very awkward. It's very unsettling. You're like, oh my God, this is so weird. He has all the photos of this family. He's stealing photos, making copies of them. He has them on his wall as if they were his family. It's really a horror film about the horrors of loneliness. And, a lot of people, they think horror, they think gore, they think slashing, they think all these other things. But I think there's just a lot of horror to be had when it comes to the horrors of loneliness. And I think this movie really does a good job in tackling that. And Robin Williams just knocks this performance out of the park. There's a scene where he finds out that the husband is cheating on the wife. And, he puts one of the photos back into her, photo log or whatever. And she's looking through the photos, and he's like following her home, and you see the car swerve. And you know that she's seen now that her husband's been cheating on her. And he's almost trying to break them apart in his sick, warped mind, thinking that she'll come to him and he can be a part of this family. Crazy. And when that doesn't work, things start to escalate. There's this scene where he gets fired, and Gary Cole is the boss, of course, from Office Space and Pineapple Express. Love Gary Cole, great character actor. He has to fire him at one point, and just the pain on Robin Williams' face. I haven't fucked up a print in 11 years. And the sadness, and there's this great dream sequence where he bleeds all this blood of, these tears of blood, and his eyes are all bloodshot. And the emotional roller coaster this movie takes you on is nothing short of fantastic. I love this movie. There's just so much to be had, and so many things you can dig deep into with this. It's a wonderful film. It really is a wonderful film. I love everything about 1 Hour Photo. Highly, highly recommend this one for everybody who hasn't seen it. It's definitely a lesser talked about Robin Williams one. Where's the Blu-ray? I know there was a Blu-ray and it went out of print ASAP. Oh man, I'd forgotten about 1 Hour Photo. I thought it was great. Yeah, no, really good one. Highly recommend. He did a couple really, really good ones in the early 2000s that a lot of people don't mention. There Can Only Be One. Let's see. I Need to Buy 1 Hour Photo. Grew up with the VHS. Yeah, no, Corey, I'm waiting on a special edition. Like, I know there's a Blu-ray out there because for dumb money because it's out of print. I'm waiting for another, like, it absolutely deserves a big special edition, I think. Insomnia is the shit. Dude, I love Insomnia. Pacino, Robin Williams, Christopher Nolan. I mean, that's some good shit. Insomnia is probably Christopher Nolan's best movie, but nobody talks about it. Yeah, it's for whatever reason, that's the one that gets the least. That was right before he did the Batman movies. So that's definitely, probably why it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. Death Central's in the house. Death Central, what's going on, good brother? Hope all is well with you tonight. But yeah, Robin Williams' character is very creepy in that movie. Yeah, no, I completely agree, James. It's a very well done horror film. I wish the filmmaker had done more. He only did a couple movies, but it was so cool to see somebody who had always made me laugh dive into horror and just absolutely terrify me. And I love Robin Williams in this movie. There's so many twists and turns, and at the end they actually sort of like go for trying to make you feel sympathy for Robin Williams. And I felt sympathy along the way, but he's still doing some heinous shit. But there's a twist towards the end that I never saw coming when I first watched it and was like, oh my God, like this makes so much more sense now that this little plot twist has been revealed. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it was actually perfect for this movie personally. Weekend starts for me feeling sweet. Yo, hell yeah, man. Cheers to the weekend to you, man. Cheers to Mr. Death Central, man. I'm rocking this water tonight. No soda tonight. I know, a little boring. But that is 1 Hour Photo. Moving on into our next, I think that was number 7. So we got number 6 now, I believe. Moving on to number 6. This is another one that blew me away and took me by surprise because for so many years, I felt Robin Williams as a performer, as a talent, or however you want to mention it, had sort of lost its luster. Like, he had made films like RV, and RV is not the worst movie in the world, but again, it's not up to the standard of a great classic Robin Williams movie. Man of the Year, just a couple of movies that I felt were lesser of him. And I felt, Old Dogs, which is probably the worst Robin Williams movie out there. I will even go out on a limb and say that. I think that might be the worst Robin Williams film personally. But it wasn't until I saw this movie that I felt that Robin Williams just made another classic, and Robin Williams just made another movie that I will watch for years to come. And, here I sit, I guess 12 years after seeing this movie for the first time, and I still think it's one of his best. And I think it's his last great movie, in my humble opinion. It's from 2009. It's from writer-director Bobcat Goldthwait. Yes, that Bobcat Goldthwait from, of course, the Police Academy films and Scrooge with Bill Murray. This is none other than World's Greatest Dad. I mean, what a great movie. I mean, I remember when I first saw this thinking nothing of it, like thinking, I don't know about this. Robin Williams is really, hasn't been in a great movie in a while. And I saw this and was absolutely fucking floored. I still to this day think this is his last great movie. In a lot of ways, I look at this movie as his swan song. And I know a lot of people talk about the themes of when they're talking about suicide in this film and knowing that the way Robin Williams went out, it's actually heartbreaking, to watch some of the scenes in this movie because they are talking about suicide. There's a scene where Robin Williams actually turns to the camera and says, suicide is a permanent solution to only temporary problems. And, it's heartbreaking to know, how the guy went out and it's a hard film in that respect to watch. So I warn you, if you haven't seen this one, it does deal with that subject matter. And what's crazy is some of the reviews on here, hilarious, twisted, all this stuff. And it is twisted. I will say that. Hilarious though. I don't know. This is like a black comedy in some light, but it's also a really dark drama. I think this is a really, really well done dark drama. Basically, tells the story of Robin Williams. He's this poetry teacher in a school, in a callback to Dead Poet Society, and he's raising his son, played by Daryl Sabara from Spy Kids. I see Ty mentioned Spy Kids, Junie. The kid who plays Junie in Spy Kids, Daryl Sabara. He's also in the Halloween remake. He's the kid that gets the shit beat out of him by Dave Farch as Michael Myers when he's a kid. Um, and his son's a douchebag in this. He's an absolute douchebag. He's obsessed with pornography, and he's just a total piece of shit to everybody. He has only one friend in the whole school. Everybody in the school hates him. He's failing. He's falling on hard times. He's facing expulsion. And that's basically your setup for this movie. Rob Williams is basically telling him, please get your shit together. I'm trying my best here. I'm a single father. I'm just begging you to get your shit together. And, I would recommend not to watch the trailer of this movie. The trailer doesn't spoil anything. I am going to talk about some of the shit in this movie because it's just that you can't talk about this movie without spoiling some shit. So if you haven't seen it, you want to see it, you have my full permission. You don't have to listen anymore, but I am going to talk about spoilers a little bit here. Basically, what happens is Rob Williams' son, in this freak way, dies while masturbating. And of course, he's like choking himself and doing some crazy shit while he's masturbating. You don't see any of it. It's not graphic. Rob Williams actually comes home from a date one night and finds his son dead. And embarrassed over how he died, he decides, let me pose it as if it was a suicide, as if it was a hanging, which is even more insane because that's the way Robin Williams committed suicide. He hung himself. He makes it look like a suicide. He writes a suicide note, and basically it becomes like the biggest, most popular thing in the world because Robin Williams, before this all happens, he's a failed writer. He's been trying to get his stuff published for years. He's this poetry teacher. He's unhappy or whatever, and the son basically dying almost becomes the most popular thing in the world because of this suicide note, and they publish it as a journal. And this son, who was hated by everybody, all of a sudden, slowly but surely, becomes a martyr for not just this school who hated him, not for all the faculty that hated him, but for the world. And I think Bobcat Goldthwait hit the nail on the head when you're talking about how this, not even just this country, but people in general, how we pick martyrs sometimes, and how sometimes we can paint them out to be this great, illustrious, fantastic person and that did no wrong and was this angel, this martyr. But in reality, that person wasn't the greatest person at all. And this movie really kind of goes deep into that motif. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. First and foremost, I love the soundtrack in this movie. So many great songs. I Hope I Become a Ghost, just great stuff. Don't Be Afraid, You're Already Dead. The song where he finds his son and he's crying. I mean, just an emotional scene. This scene where he's had it. He has to, break the lie, and David Bowie's and Queen's Under Pressure. Just great stuff. The music in this movie, the soundtrack is absolutely top notch. Tiny Spark by Brandon, I forget the fucking artist's name, but Tiny Spark is the name of the song. Really, really good stuff. I love the soundtrack in this movie. I also think, this movie does have laughs when it wants, but it's just a very smart movie, and the humor in it is actually really dark. Like, there's this one girl who she gets a tattoo of Kyle on her arm. And there's this one girl who, hey, I was sort of friends with Kyle. Can I have some of his CDs or something? And he gives him Bruce Hornsby. She's like, Bruce Hornsby. And he's like, oh, that was his favorite. In reality, it's Robin Williams' favorite. And at one point, they get fucking Bruce Hornsby to come in and play like a tribute song to his son. And you're just like, holy shit. The whole school almost makes this whole rally cry for this kid that they didn't even like. And Robin Williams is sort of just riding the fame and getting with this beautiful woman because of it. He's going on, like, it's not Oprah, but it's basically like the Oprah Winfrey show where he's being interviewed and, tell us about your son. And, Robin Williams is almost pretending to cry, and instead he's laughing. And it's just one of the best performances of all time. He's, what did you think of Kyle? And he was a sweet boy. And you can't tell, but he's actually laughing. Because it's such a hard rouge to hold up. And it's just a wonderful movie. I think the world of World's Greatest Dad, no pun intended, but I really do. I think this is a really smart movie. And my favorite scene is towards the end when he gets up in front of the entire faculty and he's seen the banners and he's seen the fucking parade that they have put on in his son's memory. And he gets up there and he tells the truth. And he says, you guys didn't like Kyle. And I didn't like him either, and he says, he was my son. I loved him, but he was also a douchebag. And he also died accidentally while masturbating. And I wrote a suicide in his journal, and, thank you. And he steps down, and all of the people, their faces are priceless. They are all in fucking shock of this martyr that they've created. The t-shirts, the jewelry, the books produced, the tattoos, the actual blood, sweat, and tears of the whole thing. And they're all like, oh my God, it was all a rouge. He had us playing this game the whole time. And of course, that Robin Williams is the great line. I used to think the worst thing in life was ending up all alone, but it's not. The worst thing in life is ending up with people who make you feel all alone. And then Under Pressure plays as Robin Williams takes a dive off the high board, goes into the school pool, and kind of swims up to the top and just leaves a big smile. It's a great cinematography shot of Robin Williams coming up from the water and smiling. I put that as the thumbnail of this video because I remember when I first watched that, I just thought to myself, that's why I love Robin Williams. It's the playing with the tone. It's making me laugh. It's making me cry. It's being dramatic when you have to. It's blurring the lines when you have to. And at the end of the day, puts a big smile on your face with some kick-ass rock music from Queen in the background. I love World's Greatest Dad. I think it's one of the best movies of the 21st century. One of my all-time favorite Robin Williams movies. The last great movie he did, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I look at this as his swan song. Were there good movies that came after this? Sure. Boulevard. I know John Steele mentioned Angriest Man in Brooklyn. I like that movie as well. He definitely did some good movies after this. But I definitely think that this is the last great one, in my humble opinion. I totally think that's the last great one. We have a ton of comments I missed. Let's see. Junie from Spy Kids is a complete dick in this movie. Yeah, no, he absolutely is. And when he dies, you're like, oh man, but you see how Robin Williams reacts, and it's just heartbreaking. You're like, oh my God, like this poor son of a bitch. Kind of depressing movie, but in a good way. Yes, it is. It's weird. Like, it is a downbeat film, especially knowing what happened to Robin Williams years later. But it's such a well-made film. Bobcat Goldthwait, I mean, really good stuff. I wish he had made more movies like this. I know he made that Bigfoot movie. I don't know. I wish Bobcat would do stuff like this more because I thought he nailed it. There are safer ways to masturbate. Yeah, no doubt. Never thought it would be that way. I can name a lot of people who are pieces of shit human beings, but now considered like exactly that I think is what Bobcat Goldthwait is going for here. And I won't say names. I know that there was somebody that Bobcat Goldthwait felt was looked at for years and years as a martyr, and he felt was a piece of trash. And I've actually seen interviews. I don't want to say names because I actually really like the person that he was bashing. I didn't know the person personally, but I liked that particular person that Bobcat Goldthwait was sort of like almost like subtweeting, if you will, in this movie. Where did I hear that death before that guy's was dressed as Batman? Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know. Chris Novoselic, Nirvana, makes a cameo in this movie where Robin Williams is crying in front of the pornos. Oh my God, I love that scene because that makes him think of his son, man. That's a fucking funny scene. I love there's this one kid, he brings in the poem and he's reading it as if he wrote it, and it's Under Pressure. It's the lyrics of Under Pressure. And he's like, you didn't write that. He's like, come on, like it's just Robin Williams' face. He's just like, anybody else have their haiku? I mean, great stuff. Remember Flubber? Dude, Flubber is another one I grew up with. I absolutely adored Flubber as a kid. Now, looking back now, is it the greatest movie? No, but Flubber is definitely one that I grew up on, and it's one that I always loved Robin Williams in. Yeah, that guy right behind of the really tall guy, that's the bass player for Nirvana. Wow, I didn't know that. That's really, really cool. See, this is why I love Ty, man. Ty always has some awesome, fun facts. Robin Williams was going to be the Riddler in Batman Forever. Part of me is like, that would have been fantastic to see. And at the same time, though, I like the Batman Forever movie we got. And part of me thinks like, would he have been in Jumanji if he did the Batman movie? Because that was the same year. So I don't know if the scheduling conflicts, I'm not sure. But Jim Carrey did a wonderful job too. So I don't like, part of me, would the dark Robin Williams Riddler have been great? Maybe, maybe Billy D. Williams would have been great as Two-Face. I don't know. But I enjoy the movie we got instead. just as good. So I'm fine with that. I like Val Kilmer's Batman a lot. I think Val Kilmer was absolutely fantastic. Um, but moving on here, I guess we can move on to the next pick of the evening. This is from 1990. I forget the year this came out. I think this is 97. Yeah, this is 1997. This is Gus Van Sant's film, Good Will Hunting. Yes, Good Will Hunting. Another one. I actually watched this the other night for show prep. I was like, I want to rewatch a couple of these because I work 9 to 5 all week, so there's not much movie time in here. So I definitely wanted to watch a few Robin Williams films, but this is one that I was like, I definitely want to go back and rewatch this, and I'm glad I did. I think Good Will Hunting is a great film. Of course, it's famous for Robin Williams winning the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, and he had been nominated before this. He had been nominated for Dead Poet Society. He had been nominated for Awakenings, Fisher King, but this was finally where he did win the Oscar. And I love the Oscar speech. He goes, "This is the one time I'm actually speechless." I just absolutely love that whole Oscar acceptance. I just think it's fantastic. I love Robin Williams was just so funny in that. And in real life, I mean, the guy was always just saying stuff off the cuff that was just making you laugh. But Good Will Hunting is a great movie. Good Will Hunting tells the story of Matt Damon's character, and he plays this janitor at this, big prestigious school. And basically one day they put this equation on the chalkboard, and he says, whoever solves this, you're going to be Stellan Skarsgård as the teacher, and he's like, whoever solves this, you're going to be hooked up, basically. And Matt Damon solves without anyone knowing, and then it starts this whole panic of who the hell solved this. And of course, it's this janitor, not any of these prestigious preppy film, or not film students, but just students in this film is what I meant to say. And he's in and out of trouble with the law, and basically they decide, hey, we'll get you out of jail if you agree to 2 terms. 1, do all the work, the math work we need you to do, and 2, meet with a psychiatrist once a week. And at first he's having all these problems with finding a good psychiatrist for him. And then of course in steps Robin Williams, who just challenges him and just gives one of the best performances of his career, arguably the best performance of his career, I would say. I love Robin Williams in this movie. Like when it comes to serious stuff, this might be the best. Like I love his performance in this as the psychiatrist Sean. Just great stuff. And I want to run through some scenes of this too, just because the two of them I just love together, Damon and Robin Williams. There's a scene where they're talking about, do you ever regret meeting your wife? Like if you didn't meet her and you met somebody else, do you wonder how your life would have been different? And Robin Williams says, yeah, but I don't regret a single day I spent with her. And he's like, well, what was the day that you knew that you loved her? And he says that I knew, and he gives the date, and he's like, Jesus, the fucking date? And of course, Robin Williams like, yeah, it was Game 6 of the World Series. And of course, he's talking about the Pudge, Carlton Fisk home run off the foul pole when he waved it fair. And the entire scene, it just gives me goosebumps every time because number one, it's directed fantastically. The cinematography, the, angles, shots and stuff, and the performances from the 2 actors, it's just an absolute home run of a scene for me. Robin Williams, this the tone of swinging a high fly ball down the left field line, and he's got that weird stance, and I love the 35,000 people go ape shit, and then they charge the field. And, yeah, get out of the way, get out of the way. And he's running around the room, and they do an aerial shot of Robin Williams running in circles around the room as Matt Damon is just so hyped up and just like a kid's smile on his face. And, I can't believe he had tickets to that fucking game. I didn't go to the fucking game. I wasn't fucking there. It's like, what are you talking about? And he goes, I had a drink with my future wife that night. I slid my ticket across the table and said, guys, I got to see about a girl. And Matt Damon can't believe it. Who are these friends that let you do this? And he said, I had that look in my eyes. And that's why years later, I don't sit here talking about the regret of not sitting it down with that woman I saw in the bar that I had a thing for, and instead going to the baseball game. And in a lot of ways, I think it's a message telling you, don't live vicariously through others. Live your own life. Live your own moments. And as great as a moment as that was for Pudge, for Carlton Fisk, and any Red Sox fan that there is out there. In Mets land, I can relate. There's definitely a couple of them too. I'm a diehard Mets fan. But at the end of the day, I do agree with the message. Like, this is all well and good. This is a big deal. It would have been pretty nice to catch that fucking game. Don't get me wrong. But if you see an opportunity, you need to take that chance. You need to take that shot. And you know, sometimes we regret decisions, sometimes we won't. But I really like that Robin Williams kind of teaches him that lesson in this movie, that you have to live your own life, and you can't be afraid to push people away. And he feels that he has this whole defensive mechanism where, you know, he leaves people before they leave him. There's this whole love story between he and Minnie Driver. I won't lie, this past time I watched it, I don't know why Minnie Driver irritated me to the point where I wanted to fast forward the scenes with her. Like, I was just like, oh, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I never felt this way about Minnie Driver until I watched it this past time. I was actually fucking annoyed. I was like, Jesus Christ, like this, oh my God, like just shaking my head. Like, I don't know. I don't really enjoy the stuff between her and Matt Damon. I hate Ben Affleck with a burning passion. And I know that they did a whole Family Guy parody of Good Will Hunting by Matt Damon. And Ben Affleck's like, put my name on it. Why not? You know, and he farts and shit. Like, funny stuff. I absolutely love that Family Guy parody because I always felt that way even before that. I just don't think Ben Affleck's very talented. But the scenes with Damon and Robin and just their chemistry together is fantastic. And there's another scene where I just Robin Williams, he never fails to make you smile. And I love this behind the scenes story. There's a scene where he's talking about his wife and, you know, some of his memories with her. And he says, you know, she used to fart in her sleep. And he starts laughing. He goes, as if it's all right if I share that with you. And then he goes, one night it was so loud it woke the dog up. And he starts laughing. And they go back and forth. And Rob Williams is laughing, Matt Damon's laughing. And if you notice, if you have an eye for this sort of thing, the cinematographer was laughing so hard that the scene, it's a little bit shaky. You can see, if you watch it closely, the camera is moving up and down. That's not supposed to happen. Rob Williams was so funny and so genuinely, you know, enjoyable that he made the cameraman, the fucking cinematographer, break kayfabe and start laughing as he was trying to stay steady for the shot. That's the greatness of Robin Williams. That's not easy to do, to make somebody that this is your job. He made the guy laugh so hard that the guy started shaking the shot. And they left it in because why not? That's just, it's so genuine. And the laughs and the just the great heart between the two. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And Matt Damon, I know, and he's crying, it's not your fault. He keeps telling him that. And they hug each other and they cry in each other's arms. I mean, just great stuff, really emotional stuff that, you know, dare I say, I don't think another actor could have pulled off what Robin Williams was able to pull off in this movie. Because for every laugh he does give you, it really, he teaches you a lot of lessons in this movie. And of course, the famous scene with the two of them sitting on the bench and, you know, you don't know about real loss. You only will know about real loss when you've lost something more than you love yourself. And that whole speech, that whole monologue when they're sitting on the bench together, just great stuff, man. When I think of Robin Williams, I think of a lot of these scenes in this movie, like just fantastic stuff, in my opinion. I love him. I love Damon in the movie. I just think it's absolutely wonderful film. I love Good Will Hunting. Really, really good one. I believe this is number 5. So yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be number 5 coming up next. I'm sorry, I got to pull up the list again. I lost track of where I was on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. Okay, so that's 6. That's 6 movies. So yeah, at least 4 more. So moving on, but we have some comments first. He was also considered for Dr. Hugo, Strange in the Dark Knight, Pisses Away, Rises. Oh shit, I didn't know that either. I got to go now. Nice talking to you guys. Bye for now. Be good, James. Have a nice night, buddy. One that I really love Robin Williams did was Night at the Museum. You know, Ty, fun fact, for my I don't know which birthday. I don't know what year did Night at the Museum come out. I forget. I think 2007. I saw it in the theater for my birthday. That was out. And it's a funny story. I was with a bunch of my friends, and we were going to celebrate my birthday at the movie theater because I'm such a movie mark. I love to just go to the movies on my birthday. That's what I used to do as a kid. And we wanted to see a movie called Aragon, which was out at the time. And it was a huge box office bomb. I mean, the movie, nobody saw the movie. We got to the theater late, and Aragon had been on for like 25 minutes or so. And I forget who it was, but somebody in the pack was like, yo, what about Night at the Museum? That starts in 5 minutes. So we scrambled to the counter and we got, you know, our sodas, our popcorns, our nachos, our candy, bunch of cruncha, if you will, ran into the theater. And I just absolutely was floored by how good The Night at the Museum, the first one, was. I loved it. And of course, Robin Williams plays Teddy Roosevelt in it. Really like that movie. I'm a huge fan of the first one. I have not seen the sequels, so I don't know. You say the movies, so hopefully the sequels are really good too. But the first one I just absolutely loved. I loved the whole cast. I loved the whole idea of it. Really, really good one for sure. Hey, Red Sox fans are very, very passionate. I know all too well being one. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a nice little scene. I really like how that whole scene is shot. I heard about that. It was improvised. It was awesome. They kept it. Yeah, no, it's incredible that some of the times that filmmakers will just be like, hey, we'll do that. Yeah, best. I love that scene with those two on the bench. Those two together. I wish they had collaborated again, just one more time. Would have been really nice to see because those two had just incredible chemistry. But coming in next spot on the list, this is from 1991. I don't own this film, but this was another one I watched for show prep last night, and it's another one that I absolutely love. This is Terry Gilliam's film, The Fisher King. Yes, The Fisher King, starring, of course, Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams. And this is one that I don't even know how you'd classify this. Like, part of this is comedy, part of this is drama, part of this is romantic. This is a very grand film. Like, I don't even know if there's one subgenre I would consider The Fisher King. But that being said, I think it's a great film. It's a great, great movie in my opinion. And basically, it stars Jeff Bridges as he's this like late night DJ, and he says all this like controversial stuff in similar vein to like Howard Stern. And one night he says something like, you got to get rid of these horrible people or whatever to this guy who's listening to the show. And the guy says, okay. And basically it's this crazed fan that takes it the wrong way. And he goes up in a bar and starts shooting people. And he kills like 11 people, including himself. And then, of course, Jeff Bridges steps down from the job. He's blamed for it, and he's beating himself over it. He's become an alcoholic, and he's really fallen on hard times. And of course, he runs this video store with his girlfriend, played by Mercedes. I forget her damn name, but she's great. She actually got nominated I think she won an Oscar for this movie. She's fantastic in it. She went on to be in stuff like Power. It's a really, really good show for the last couple of years. And one night he leaves, he's drunk, he's down in his luck, and these two people start to beat the shit out of him, thinking he's a bum. He's going to commit suicide. Like, he's tied the, cinder blocks to his feet. They beat the holy shit out of him, and Robin Williams comes in and saves him at the last minute. And then you're introduced to Robin Williams' character, who's this, homeless man, and you shortly learn that Robin Williams was actually a professor at a school, and he was married to this beautiful woman before this. And you learn that one of the people from the beginning, was shot up and killed was his wife. She had her head taken off right in front of Robin Williams, and he had a mental breakdown. And this is his life now. He's this homeless man, and he's down in his luck, but he's still Robin Williams. I mean, he still makes you smile in this movie. It's a really, really good performance as the Parry character. And I love some of the scenes where he's showing Jeff Bridges. He goes, "This is it," and he's just like, "What's this?" And he goes, "This is the Holy Grail." And it's a picture of this fucking trophy in this guy's office, and he believes that this is the actual Holy Grail. And I love that there's a lot of like social commentary on all these people looking for the Holy Grail and giving the Holy Grail, and people having it or whatever and saying, "Oh, this isn't it." And then one day this jester comes into the building, and the king or whatever, he's thirsty, and he gives him this cup to drink out of, and he goes, "This is the Holy Grail." He goes, "You got it. You brought it to me. What were you thinking?" And he kind of goes, "I wasn't thinking anything. All I was thinking was when you asked me was that you were thirsty." And it's the whole motif of, doing something for somebody that will help them in a personal way, as opposed to, I'm trying to get gain for my own self. Instead of that, it's let me help this person. Let me, quench this person's thirst. And it's a really, really smart little scene. And of course, it's a lot of the movie is him and Jeff Bridges just running around town. And of course, Robin Williams is head over heels in love with Amanda Plummer's character, who of course would go on to be in films like Pulp Fiction and stuff like that. I also remember her in like Satan's Little Helper, weird fucking directed DVD movie. This is the shit I remember. But yeah, no, they follow her around, and basically Jeff Bridges is trying to repay him in any way that he can. He's like, "Listen, like, here's some money," and Rob Williams refuses the money. He's like, "I don't want the money. I'm fine." I'm good. Like, I don't need that. And he's like, what can I do for you? You know? And he tells him, I'm in love with this girl named Lydia, and I follow her when she comes out of work, when she goes to lunch and all that stuff. And it's really heartfelt. It's really a heartfelt kind of movie. It touches on a lot of stuff like that. And of course, one night they kind of trick her into thinking she's won this membership so they can get the two on a date together. And there's this fantastic scene where Jeff Bridges, his girlfriend, Amanda Plummer, Robin Williams, they're in this Chinese restaurant and they're just talking and they're singing and they're having a good time and they're dropping the food. And it's just a great scene. The cinematography, the scope of that shot, the color used, it's magical. It's beautiful. It's very vibrant. And then there's the scene where Robin Williams is walking home with her, and she says, "You're going to want to come up to my apartment, right?" And Robin Williams is like, "Well, I mean, only if you're comfortable with it." And she says, "I know what's going to happen." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Well, we'll probably go up there. We'll have a good night. We'll have sex, and you won't be wanting to stay in the morning. And I'll go to work, and for the first hour, I'll feel great. But then I'll start to feel like garbage because I know that I was used. I know this was a one night stand. And I know that this connection that I felt was love really was just more lust." And Robin Williams stops her. He goes, he even says, he goes, "I think you should shut up now." And he's like, "With respect." And, she goes, "You're not attracted to me?" And he goes, "No, I have a heart on you for the size of Florida," which made me cackle laughing. He says all these things that, I know that you love these romance novels and I follow you. And I know it's a good day if you go and stop and buy that romance novel. And, he just goes on and on about how much he loves this person that he's never talked to before tonight. "I've loved you for a long time." And I know it could sound creepy, but at the same time, there's such a sentimental sweetness to it where he's going on about how much he's head over heels in love with this girl. And, he says to her, "I know that some days you may not feel as spectacular or as wonderful as other people, but trust me when I tell you, I love you." And it's just this wonderful scene. It almost brings Amanda Plummer to tears that this guy thinks that much of her. She doesn't believe that anybody could ever believe or think or love that much about her. And it's a wonderful scene. I mean, anybody that's been gone through that, the one night stand and feeling good the next day and then feeling like absolute dog shit when you realize that's probably the end of things, for a man or a woman. It's definitely, I think we've all been there, and it's a shitty feeling. It could be a pretty shitty feeling. Like, don't get me wrong, but I love that Robin Williams just says, "Stop it. Like, this isn't something that I want just one night of. I want years and years to come with this." And it's really nice. And of course, I really like the stuff with Jeff Bridges and his girlfriend. And she has a great line where she says, "Sometimes you can have two people that you want to be together sitting at the same table, looking right across from each other, and they'll never see each other." She said, "But when true love is real, when true love is actually meant to be, you can have two people on the opposite sides of the planet and love will find a way to bring them together." And I totally agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that's just such a good point and such a good message. Really, it's a really well written film. And I love there's this whole thing where Robin Williams gets beaten up and he's put back into a coma. And then Jeff Bridges has to steal the Holy Grail for him. And he goes through all this shit just to get the Holy Grail to him. And of course, Robin wakes up out of the coma because he really did believe it was the Holy Grail. And this is just a fantastic movie. There's some scenes there, Robin was like, "You have to take off your clothes and look at the clouds and admire their beauty and move them apart with your head." And Jeff Bridges is like, "You are outside of your fucking mind." And Robin Williams is like, "Bingo, bring up the little guy, let him flap in the breeze." Just great stuff between those two as they lay naked watching the clouds as the film kind of rolls to an end. I love The Fisher King, man. I think Terry Gilliam was a really, really good filmmaker. And, this is an oddball of a film. I really don't know what I'd classify this as. Like, is it funny? Sure. Is it dramatic? Sure. Is there romantic parts of it? Sure. It's just such a grand film. There's so much to really find in this movie, I think. I really am a big fan of The Fisher King. Highly, highly recommend to people who have not seen it. Ty Junebug says the second one, Night at the Museum, is okay. The third one, I think, was a step up. So third one is a step up. Okay. I'd like to give those both a watch because I like Ben Stiller and I really like Robin Williams. So I'll definitely be trying to give those a look. The Fisher King is a really good movie in some ways. I feel like it's underrated. Know a lot of people talk about it. It's weird. Like if someone has seen The Fisher King, they'll talk about it. Like it's definitely, but I feel like it's one that's very underseen. Not even just underrated, just underseen. Like nobody really talks about it, that hasn't seen it. I feel like this is one of those movies that more people definitely should give a look. And I know it's on Amazon Prime Video, which is really cool. So that's a really, really good one. I highly recommend anybody check out The Fisher King. If you love Jeff Bridges, if you love Robin Williams, if you love, the psychology of romance, I think it's a really, really good film. I really like The Fisher King. So that's a really, really good one. Back to the list here. Let's see. Okay, we're almost there, man. We're at the top three. Wow, this is crazy how this is flying by. This one was actually from the previous year. This is from 1990, directed by I think one of the most underrated filmmakers of all time, Penny Marshall. And whether it be Big, whether it be A League of Their Own, whether it be this movie, whether it be Jumpin' Jack Flash, I just absolutely adore Penny Marshall. May she rest in peace. It's so sad to me that she's gone too. But this is her film from 1990. Another one I don't own. I actually should really pick up the Blu-ray of this because I love this movie. This is Awakenings from 1990. Of course, like I said, directed by Penny Marshall. This stars Robert De Niro and Robin Williams as this doctor. And basically what happens is Robert De Niro has this condition where he basically can't move too well. His reflexes or whatever, they're not all there. And they come up with this amazing medicine that makes him snap out of it. And he's the patient that sort of responds to it the best. And the first and foremost, the thing I love about this movie is the switcheroo. They initially wanted Robin to play the part that was going to be the more like physical acting, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a great physical actor. But Robin, I believe Robert De Niro made the call, and he was like, "Wait a minute, let me see if I can do this." Like, we know Robin's great, we know Robin could probably do this great, but let me try to do this. And I respect and admire Robert De Niro for saying that. I think he does a wonderful job in this movie. But in steps Robin Williams, where he had to turn around and give a very serious, straight-laced performance as the doctor, Dr. Malcolm Sayer, I believe it is in this movie. And, he has just such a heartwarming approach to all these patients. And I just love his character in this. And, he lays Robert De Niro into bed and he looks at him and he goes, "What do you think? Do you think this drug will wear off? Do you think I'll be able to get up tomorrow and be able to do what I did today?" And Rob Williams lays him down. He just kind of heartwarmingly says, "When you wake up in the morning, it'll be the next morning." And just with this big smile on his face, he tucks him in and, he's trying to help him. And Robert De Niro, he falls in love with this woman and he's having all these sorts of problems. And Robin Williams is trying to tell him, "Listen, like, I get that you feel great and that you feel like you can do all these things again, but remind yourself, you're very, very sick. This is still an experimental drug." And it's Robert De Niro's sort of, stiff arming of that and disbelief of that, just thinking I'm good, that sort of leads to the tragedy that this movie is. This is a very sad film. I don't like if you want to watch a Robin Williams film and feel good about yourself, I wouldn't watch Awakenings. I would say of all the ones I have on this list, this might be the most depressing one. And some of these deal with some depressing shit, but this is a fucking sad movie. This is one, again, that nobody fucking talks about. And especially because Robert De Niro is definitely a far more talked about actor. And I understand. I mean, the guy's great. But, I think Rob Williams just stole the show here. I really do. I really like Rob Williams in this. And I think that his straight-laced performance and, being that doctor that does care about the well-being of his patients. And even though, this drug is an experimental one, he does realize that it could wear off at any minute. And Penny Marshall just does a great job at telling stories and doing characters. I mean, I love Tom Hanks in Big. I love Whoopi Goldberg jumping Jack Flash. I love Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, in A League of Their Own. I just think she did so many good movies. And I think this movie is no exception. I just absolutely love this movie. This is one I think more people should see. I really feel like no one has seen Awakenings. I don't know why. Like even in her career, it seems like the lesser talked about one. But with two heavyweights like Williams and De Niro, I think everybody should see this movie. I really, really am a big fan of Awakenings from 1990. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. Ben Grimm says Aladdin is my favorite. Even the third one where he comes back as the voice of Genie. I guess it's time to spoil. I don't have Aladdin on here. There's two movies left. Neither one of them is Aladdin. I'm sorry to everybody. I know. I do, for what it's worth, I do think it's arguably the best voice acting performance of all time. However, I will say this. There are so many more Disney movies that I grew up with as opposed to Aladdin. Like, Aladdin was one I found later in life, and I loved it for Rob Williams. But like, Monsters Inc. was much more a movie I grew up with. Finding Nemo was much more of a movie. The Fox and the Hound, if you want to go old school, The Fox and the Hound, I still to this day have the VHS of The Fox and the Hound. I love that movie. And that's considered arguably the worst Disney movie ever made. I love it. Stuff like that. It's like a race with the Black Cauldron. It seems like those two are like almost blacklisted in Disney's catalog. But I think that was just a case of seeing it later in life. But it's still a great movie, and it's arguably, I mean, it probably should be on here. But I don't know, personal list, it just didn't make the cut. I apologize to all Aladdin enthusiasts. I knew that would probably kill people, but I do apologize. I do think it's a great movie, great performance. Like just, didn't make the list. That's how good this list is. That much quality stuff. Hey, in this movie, Vin Diesel isn't in his first movie role. Oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea. If he is, I didn't know where he was in it. It's been a while since I've seen Awakenings, but I definitely, I really highly recommend it. But that brings us to, I believe, the final two of the evening. Wow, this is absolutely crazy. But coming in at number 2, I absolutely adore this movie. Just think the world of it. This is Peter Weir's film from 1989. It's funny, we went from 91 to 90 to 89, but this is a fantastic movie. And I believe this Blu-ray here is out of print, if I'm not mistaken. It goes for quite a bit of money now. And it's a great Blu-ray. It's a great film. It's Robin Williams in Peter Weir's Dead Poets Society. I mean, I remember the first time I watched this movie, I felt enlightened. I felt absolutely enlightened because it's such a smart film. It's such a wise movie. You almost feel like you're in the class with the rest of these kids. And I love this movie. Of course, it has Robert Sean Leonard in it. It has Ethan Hawke in one of his first film roles. And Robin Williams is introduced to this class as this new poetry teacher. And the school is very, uptight. They're very strict. They're very, mean in a lot of ways. And Robin Williams is introduced, and he's anything but. He's the nicest guy in the world. He's funny. He brings a great charm and charisma to this role. And I love just the unorthodox methods of teaching. You see this page written by J.R. Pritchard or J.R. Mr. Pritchard or whatever. And he's like, I want you to take a ruler to this page and I want you to write this down. I want you to rip that page out. And he's like, rip it. You're not going to go to hell for this. And I love they're all throwing the papers around. And there's this one teacher, he walks in. What the fuck? What are you doing? And Robin Williams is like, oh no, that's fine. That's totally under control. And he has the garbage bag. They're throwing out this page of this poetry book because he disagrees with what the guy said. He doesn't believe that guy understood the true beauty of poetry. He goes on to tell you what he does believe it is. He says, we used to be part of this Dead Poet Society, and we would let poetry and these wonderful words from Shakespeare and all these sonnets, we'd let it drip from our tongues like honey. And we would get together and read poetry together in these dark like caves and shit like that. And it's a really cool film. And he really inspires all these kids to believe in the saying of Carpe Diem, which means seize the day. And you have this one guy, Knox. He's afraid to ask this girl out because she's way out of his league, in his opinion. But he goes for it anyway. And of course, eventually, it all comes together. You have Robert Sean Leonard's character, who his dad is just this horrible, overbearing father, played by Kurtwood Smith, who's, of course, everybody remembers from That 70s Show. He played Red Foreman on That 70s Show. And of course, he's being overbearing and I want you to stick to your studies. But Robert Sean Leonard's character, he really loves acting and he wants to be in the school play. And he keeps discouraging him. No, you can't do that. But Robin Williams encourages him. You have to do what you love or else you'll have regrets in life. And Ethan Hawke's character is very shy and timid, and he can't open up to anybody. He's the quiet kid in class. And there's a scene where he says, okay, I want you all to write a poem for tomorrow, a very personal poem. And Ethan Hawke doesn't do the assignment. And Robin Williams comes up to him and he goes, okay, I'm going to teach you something. He goes, come up here and give me your barbaric yawp, which means a loud cry or yell. And Ethan Hawke's like, yawp. And he's like, good God, boy, louder, yawp. And then it gets a little bit more intense. Good God, boy, yawp. He fucking screams, yawp. There it is. And Robin, you don't get away that easy. And I love teachers like that. And that's exactly like, if anyone has had a good teacher in their life, it's this character. It's this Robin Williams performance in this movie to me. That's a good teacher. You don't get away that easy now. You didn't do your homework. Fine. I'm going to teach you even more. And, look at that picture of Uncle Walt up there, Walt Whitman, and tell me about him. He's a sweaty tooth madman. And, it's like a blanket that leaves your feet cold. And all of a sudden, he just starts spitting this great poem. To the moment we leave dying, to the moment we go out crying, we kick, we yell, we scream. And Robin Williams, just kind of takes him into his arms and he goes, "Don't you forget this. There's a poet in you after all. There's a barbarian in you after all." He teaches him that even though he is this shy, weak, timid kid, that there is a barbarian in him after all. And there's just some great scenes in this. There's these scenes where they have to read the sonnets and kick a soccer ball like as far as they can, which looked like so much fun to me. There's a scene where they're marching in one of the school courts and, reading poetry again. And it's just really, really great stuff. I mean, this is just a wonderful film. Peter Weir is just a great filmmaker, of course. And I think it's crazy that Peter Weir made this, which is one of my favorite Robin Williams films, turned around a few years later, 1998, to direct The Truman Show, which is one of my favorite Jim Carrey films. He worked with two of the best comedic actors of our time and got great, serious, dramatic performances out of them. And Robin Williams actually got nominated for an Oscar. Jim Carrey was snubbed, in my humble opinion. Whether you like or dislike Jim Carrey, I think he was snubbed for Truman Show. But Peter Weir brings just a great direction in this movie, and it really gets very sad towards the end. I don't want to get into it, but there's a character that dies in the film, and there's this fantastic cinematography of the cold morning after this character dies, of this great shots in the snow, and Ethan Hawke's character just crying, and it's a real heartbreaker. And of course, the famous scene at the end where, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and they all stand up on their desks and, "Sit down, Mr. Anderson, I'm warning you," and "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and they all get up on their desks to show Robin Williams what he meant to them. And how much of an impact on their lives that he had, and that he was able to awaken parts of their selves and their character that they didn't even know they had in them. And I love this movie. I think Dead Poet Society is one of the best movies ever. I really like the 1980s. This is one of the best movies ever. I love Dead Poet Society. One of my favorite Robin Williams films. A true 11 out of 10 for me. This one breaks the scale. I love Dead Poet Society. That's Dead Poet Society number 2. Let's see, we got a couple comments. I think we watched this in English class in high school. Really? That's very cool. I can't remember the first time I watched this movie. I really can't. I don't remember where I first saw it, but I remember loving it and immediately went out to buy the Blu-ray, which I'm glad I did because it's now out of print. Tom Cooney, welcome to the graveyard. Holy shit, I didn't know you were watching, man. Dude, I don't know if you've been here the whole time, but dude, so happy to have you on. I mentioned the marathon that me, you, and Jack had when we first heard of the passing of Rob Williams. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we watched this. I don't remember what else. I think we watched this, and maybe did we watch World's Greatest Dad? I don't remember. I know we watched this. I know for a fact we watched this. This is a fucking great movie. Completely love it. Tom, I hope all is well with you, man. I haven't seen or spoke to you since fucking COVID. I remember me, you, and Brandon, we went to Applebee's. And then the next month, fucking COVID happened, and that was it. I mean, we haven't seen you or heard from you since. So I hope all is well with you, man. I hope all is well. Okay. You said, let's see. That was a great day. Also sad. We watched that and World's Greatest Dad. Okay, yeah, I thought so. That's great. The two poetry where he's playing poetry teachers. Very cool stuff. But I hope all is well with you, man. Hope to definitely. We should catch up soon. Brandon and me are always down to go out to eat and get some food or watch some movies. So I'll keep you in the loop for sure. Hit me up whenever. Definitely miss Tom Cooney. Everybody, great people. All's good. Hope you're feeling good, bro. Yeah, no, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling absolutely great. Great to have you on here tonight. I was really, really happy to see your name. I was like, holy shit, Tom Cooney's in the Easy. Good brother, Tom. Always good to see you. But I believe I'm going to go over the list. I guess we could do a quick recap of the list here. So let's see. Jumanji, Good Morning Vietnam, The Birdcage, 1 Hour Photo, World's Greatest Dad, Good Will Hunting, The Fisher King, Awakenings, Dead Poet Society. And now on to number 1, my favorite Robin Williams movie, and a movie that every single time I watch it, it's another one that it makes me smile, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it makes me feel so many different emotions. And it is from director Chris Columbus from 1993. This is Mrs. Doubtfire. Love this movie. I mean, and if there was ever a movie I love solely because of Robin Williams, like if somebody came up to me and said, what's the best Robin Williams movie because of Robin Williams? It's this one. I mean, and it's funny, Dead Poet Society, as much as I love this and as much as I think this is one of the best Robin Williams movies, he's not really the lead. Like it's the kids that are the lead of this movie. Like the kids are really the main characters, and Rob Williams is kind of just like shaping them around. But I would dare to say that like Ethan Hawke, Robert Sean Leonard, they're more of the lead of this film, which is interesting because I do love the movie. But when you think great Rob Williams movies because of him, I don't look any further than Mrs. Doubtfire. You mean Flubber isn't number one? No, Flubber did not make the list. I'm sorry. There's a couple that didn't make the list. I don't know if anyone's mentioned Bicentennial Man. Bicentennial Man. I have a quick story about that, and it's funny enough. It connects to the same director, Chris Columbus, who also made the Home Alone movies. So many good movies Chris Columbus made. The first couple Harry Potter movies. Bicentennial Man was this movie with Robin Williams, and he plays this robot. And he lives for 200 years, and it's like the movie kind of gradually moves on. And he becomes a human towards the end of it. It is arguably the saddest movie I've ever watched. To the point, I'm not kidding you. I'm not afraid to say this. I fucking cried my first time I watched that. And I've never gone back and watched it since because so many people in Bicentennial Man die. Like it actually fucking depressed me. Like I cried like a fucking bitch watching Bicentennial Man. So I don't think I'll ever go back and rewatch it because it just absolutely hit me in the feels, man. Totally did. Had a feeling it would be this one. Yeah, no, I mean, you can't go wrong, Mrs. Doubtfire. You can't go wrong. It tells the story of Robin Williams and he and his wife, played by Sally Field. They get divorced at the beginning. He's like the pushover dad, and she's like the very strict mom. You really hate her character, but I do like they acknowledge it. She says, I hate the person I am when I was with you. And that's at least she's saying, like, listen, I know I was a bitch when I was with you, but somebody had to be stern when you were being such a pushover. And of course, they take his kids away from him, and he misses his kids so much that he decides, I'll dress in drag and babysit them so I get to be with my kids. And of course, they make him over. They make him look like this, old Scottish woman. You Virginia Doubtfire, dearie. And just his performance and the one-liners in this, they're just so fantastic and magical. This is a great magical movie. And Robin Williams is the reason for that because it's everything in one film that I loved him for. There's some great serious elements where he gets, the wife says, it's over. We're done. The look on his face of just, like, no, like the face he makes, it's so, you feel terrible for him. You feel his pain in that moment. There's a scene where he goes on a job interview and he goes, I do voices, and we are coming to your planet, and he does I could do a great impression of a hot dog, and he just goes on and on and on with these impressions, and this woman just looks at him stone faced. And, he goes, I used to think I was a very funny person, but today you proved me wrong. I absolutely love Robin Williams in this because he makes you laugh. He makes you love him. He's charming. He's trying to cook for the kids. He doesn't know what to do. He's looking up all these recipes. He's trying to learn how to cook. He's just trying to keep the charade up. There's one scene where this lady from the agency, she comes over and he does not in the makeup. So he puts this like cream on his face from this cake. Hello! The voice he does is great. And the cream is dropping off his chin into her. Oh, another plop for your tea, sweetie. It's only honey. It's cream, just absolutely funny. I mean, you never lose the smile on your face throughout this whole movie. Of course, the dude looks like a lady when he's doing the vacuuming and dancing. Dude looks like a lady. Burn up. I mean, fantastic stuff. I mean, you just absolutely love to see it. You have the scenes where somebody tries to steal his purse and he's like, back the fuck off, he takes the purse back. I mean, just fantastic, man. I love this movie. Of course, there's the whole ending scene where he's at the restaurant and trying to pull off being Daniel Hillard and, of course, Mrs. Doubtfire. He's going back and forth from table to table to table. And that whole sequence, you almost get out of breath watching it because it's just crazy how he goes back and forth. Oh, now I'm Daniel Hillard. Oh, now I'm Mrs. Doubtfire. And he's going back and forth, back and forth. It's unbelievable performance. It really is. It's so amazing to watch. And I love the whole, courtroom scene and the drama of that. And you take my kids away from me, you kill me. You might as well just sentence me to death. You killing me if you do that. And, his just sternness of that scene. And then, of course, how it all kind of wraps up at the end in this nice little bow where initially they were going to get back together. He and Sally Field, and the director shot it down. Chris Columbus said there's no way she'd ever get back with him. We can end this movie better than that. And then, of course, they have this new show where he plays Mrs. Doubtfire and teaches people life lessons week in and week out as this character that he created. Um, it's great. I don't think any other living actor, performer, what have you, could be as good as Robin Williams was in this movie and be as creative and bring as much to the table as he did. The Scottish accent, there's a lot of movies that have tried this. And one I actually like, Big Mama's House. I don't know if everyone's seen Big Mama's House. I really like Big Mama's House. But again, Martin Lawrence, it's just he's playing an older woman. Like he doesn't do anything with his voice like Robin Williams. Like why not make her Scottish? It's fucking funny, Help is on the way, dearie. Help is on the way, and all the fucking funniest shit in this movie, man. And like throwing the fruit at fucking Pierce Brosnan's head, like just unbelievable. He brings so much to this role: the physical comedy, the absolute dramatic elements of dealing with being divorced and looking for a job and trying to make ends meet. He reaches every single tone in this movie. This is the most grand Robin Williams performance, and I think movie. I love Mrs. Doubtfire. I forever will love this movie. I think this is an absolute masterpiece. Love Mrs. Doubtfire. Absolute great movie. Another 11 out of 10 for me. We've got a couple comments. Let's see. Oh, Britt's in the house. Britt, what's up? Britt, how are you? I hope all is well with you tonight. Welcome to the graveyard. Hope you all chilling. Love that movie. Absolutely. Dude, I absolutely love Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, man. I absolutely love it. Yeah, no, it's a riot. Thank you. Yeah, no, I definitely could sing with some of them, man. I could try my best. But yeah, so that was my top 10. I guess we could do a quick I could read off the roundup again. Let's see. Jumanji, Good Morning Vietnam, The Birdcage, 1 Hour Photo, Good Will Hunting, World's Greatest Dad, The Fisher King, Awakenings, Dead Poet Society, and Mrs. Doubtfire. Great movies. And I know like Aladdin is a great movie too. Don't get me wrong. House of D, I know Corey was mentioning before. That's a great movie as well. And he made so many good. Club Paradise, The Best of Times. I was always a really big low-key fan of Insomnia, which nobody really talks about. I really like Insomnia. Patch Adams, which I know people say is over sentimental, but fuck you. I like Patch Adams. I do. I don't care. I know also another movie that I actually have not been able to watch since he passed, dealing to its subject matter, is What Dreams May Come. I actually can't watch, because I was so heartbroken when he passed. That movie has to deal with the afterlife. Like he gets into a car accident, and the whole movie he's in the after. I feel like it's almost like too close to home. Like I can't. It's just because he's gone now, and that movie is basically like him dealing with being gone, and it's just. I don't know. I haven't been able to. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s in that movie. Great movie. It's just I have had a really hard time going back and rewatching that one in particular. I love the movie. I know my sister loves it. My sister, I believe that's her favorite Robin Williams movie. This and Doubtfire for sure. We grew up. Me and my sister would watch Mrs. Doubtfire a lot. Just a great performer. I think one of the greatest all-time talents we've ever seen. Robin Williams' legacy, it's unmatched. It really is. His energy, his legacy, it's truly unmatched. You got me in the Robin Williams feels right now. I'm watching a movie or two of his tomorrow, but I got work early, so good night, man. Glad I could catch. Dude, Tom, thank you so. It means the world to me that you catch this show. I really do appreciate it, man. And next time you're free, if you're ever free and you want to get a bite to eat, man, please reach out to me. I'd love to see you. I'd love to talk movies and bullshit with you. You're awesome people. So thank you so much for checking out the show. I appreciate it. I'm definitely watching Robin Williams movies tonight, thanks to you. And hey, Tom and Death Central. Dude, I'm so happy. Britt, let me know which one you watch. We're wrapping up here. So I just wanted to say, rest in peace, Robin Williams, one of my all-time favorite actors. And I wanted to say a big cheers to him. He was a big influence on, I think, my young childhood growing up. And I actually, my senior quote and Tom went to high school with me. So Tom, I don't know if Tom knows this, but he can prove it with his senior yearbook. I used the Robin Williams quote from Mork and Mindy. There's this, one of the Mork and Mindy monologues towards the end where he says, I made a lot of people happier than they would have been without me. And as long as I know that, I'm as happy as I ever need to be. And to me, that sums up Robin Williams' whole life in just a couple sentences. And he's a guy that dealt with darkness. He's a guy that dealt with depression, and it's the sad side of comedy. But I think that the amount of joy he brought to people, whether it be the troops that he visited, whether it be the young kids like me that watch movies like Mrs. Doubtfire and Jumanji, and some people will say Flubber, and of course Aladdin, and so many kids that grew up with him, and then into the serious roles, into the roles that inspired you to do things. Like, it inspired me in Good Morning Vietnam to be on the morning announcements when I went to high school. I wanted just to shoot to be as good as maybe Rob Williams would be. And I know that I couldn't be ever as good as him, but it gave you that something to shoot for. And I don't know. I think his films just they meant the world. He was an absolute once in a lifetime talent, and he is sorely forever missed. And I know this was, I believe, next week was the anniversary of his death, so I wanted to do a tribute show to Robert Williams. So may you rest in peace, Robert Williams. This show is dedicated to your memory. Everybody, thank you so much for joining tonight. This was such a fun show to dive down memory lane and talk all things Robert Williams with y'all. Hope everybody has a wonderful, safe weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy yourselves. And next week, we'll be back with Gory Corey. King Need Gore comes onto the graveyard. And we will be talking all things Friday the 13th in honor of Friday the 13th next week. So I'm super excited about that. So once again, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining. Keep it real, keep it creepy, and keep it too sweet. We will catch you next time only on the